Hello, everyone, and welcome to, I think, episode 22 of the Roots Report. I am Daniel Poulter, local Bay Area beat writer covering the Oakland Roots, as well as Cal and a little bit of San Jose Earthquakes. As always, if you love this content, make sure to like and subscribe. But let's get into the Oakland Roots. This week, Oakland Roots took the trip to scorching hot Phoenix, which is game time, I believe, of 99 degrees at start time, which we will talk about because it has tempered a little bit of the rage deep inside. But let's talk. Oakland Roots 2, Phoenix Rising 2, which means the Roots got a point. And why does it sound like I'm disappointed? And should I be disappointed? Great questions all around. But the Oakland Roots picked up their third straight point in a game. It is their first non-win of the season, but they do come away from Phoenix with a point 2-2. Why I was a little frustrated with this game, we'll get into a lot of it, but Oakland Roots should have won this game. Going away, I could say it probably should have been 3-0, 4-0. This is the type of game that you look back at the end of the season where, let's say the Roots were a playoff team, which I do think they will be. If they end as the 5 seed and lose out by 2 points to like El Paso, this is one of those games you're going to be like 2 points against a team that you were better than is going to haunt you. But I kind of looked at this last year. The 3 games that the Roots have played, they played Monterey Bay on the road, they played a good New Mexico United team at home, and they played a former playoff team in Phoenix Rising and came away with a point. Last year's team probably loses all 3 of those games, or maybe ties Monterey Bay, or comes away with a late tie against Rising or New Mexico, but I would imagine they had like 1 point through 3 games. And we're at the Oakland Roots are at the top of the Western Conference standings. They're at the top of the West. And I'm like, you could do better. That's insane from where we were last year. And is that too early to be that maybe negative about good things? But I think that this team has kind of earned expectations. They have earned the ability to be criticized, that we deserve, that not deserve, but we think they should be better than they are. Because, again, for 85 minutes of this game, it was a 2-0 stomp. And I don't know if it was the very warm temperatures, because we're coming from the Bay Area where it has been relatively warm recently, but it is Bay Area warm, so it's like, oh no, it's hitting 83. Ooh, it's March. Like, levels of things where you get sent into the absolute tinderbox that is Phoenix, Arizona. A full game, which we'll talk about some of the subs. But like overall, let me come back to this. The Oakland Roots have 7 points in 3 games, and they're top of the Western Conference. This is something that, if you said before the season, every single person would be jumping for joy. And to be fair, a lot of people are jumping for joy. This is a new Oakland Roots team. Ryan Martin is clearly, I want to stress, clearly the correct choice. I would like. There's part of me would like to see the Benny Feilhaber era, but I think the Ryan Martin era is the correct era. Overall, this team has an identity. This team has grit. This team has energy. They want to win. They seem like they like each other so far. And I like a lot. And the thing is, though, I think if just on a base level of what they've shown, this team is 100% a playoff team. The goal now should be, can you get a home playoff game? Because, oh my God, the Coliseum with, let's be not insane, but let's say they sell it out at 26,000 again. They break the record once again. That place will be the most insane environment you have ever been in at a USL soccer game. And I dream of that possibility because that would be so cool. But that's a long way off. We're at game 3 of 30 in the USL championship schedule. That does mean, I believe, is that 10%? Huh. But last season, the Roots showed some glimpses, but I want to see that. That's the biggest thing for me in this team is I want to see them put it together through a lot of things. But overall, early on, the Roots brought a lot of pressure. They did a lot of really, really good things. They keep, even when they don't have it fully offensively, the Roots have shown an ability to just outwork their opponents. And I think I brought this up last week, but I've been told by people in the USL and stuff, it's like, hey, there's going to be like 2 or 3 teams that are clearly like, those are really, really good teams. You're Louisville, you're Charleston last year. The teams that, like, especially this year, like, does anyone expect Louisville not to finish first in the East, at least during the regular season? Because I expect them to finish, even with Danny Cruz heading to Minnesota, they're going to finish first in the East. Like, it's just going to happen. They're that good of a team. Where the Oakland Roots could be one of those teams eventually, but 95% of times when you walk into a stadium, it's whichever team outworks the other one, not which has more talent for the USL level. Other levels like the MLS, you can just outwin on talent, and times where like being a gritty team will be out talented. A good example being the San Jose Earthquakes this year are starting what you would consider not the best starters compared to what they even had last year. But look, they're 4-1 and in second place in the Western Conference or not in the Western Conference, but I guess it is in the West. Yeah, they're in the West. They're tied for second. That's wild. Let's look. Let me see if I can bring up our. Yep. See if I can get my face a little bigger. Don't worry about me. All right. So, some things that we saw. Let me see if I can bring up the stats page here. So, here is the first half. This is something you can hang your hat on of until maybe they got tired or substitutions that did not work. The Oakland Roots badgered them. They took them behind the baseball shed at Scottsdale Stadium, and they just look at these numbers. 63% possession, 11 shots, 4 shots on total, 2 big chances, which they scored on both, compared to 2 total shots, none on target for Phoenix. This was an absolute bludgeoning of a first. Like, look at these numbers. They're just 18 touches in the box compared to 0. Remember last year when we were just like, oh, I hope they get like 10 in the box the whole game? This was the first half they had 18. Diabolical destruction. And let's look at the second half. Oh. So, another thing I want to bring up, which may lead to some of my other points. So, this is the analytical side of things, XG. And Oakland Roots had an XG of 1.91. This comes off to the analytics said they're probably going to score 2 goals. Like, through this game, they should have scored 2 goals. You look at Phoenix Rising's XG, 0.44. The computers think like maybe 1 shot could have gone in, but definitely not 2. And is this all on the goalkeeping situation? No. I think this is one of those nuanced things where I think the backline was fighting for their life for the last 15 minutes of that game. They did move things around. They did bring in some new subs, which we'll talk about. But I do think, at least on the first goal, was pretty atrocious by Spiegel. I still don't let me put this. I also don't think the starting goalkeeper on a playoff winning team is on this roster. I would rather start McIntosh, but I understand from talking with Ryan Martin his value of using the goalkeeper as a weapon, which I disagree with, but I understand is the modern sentiment. I think during the summer window, you have to bring in a goalkeeper. Maybe see if you can get like loan. I know in previous years, the Roots management has been very anti loan because like why would we build someone else's prospect for them that we're going to lose and then we don't get anything for? We have this whole program, the 510, which to be honest is really a really nice gem. But the one thing you can do in the US is find a goalkeeper. Find a goalkeeper is unacceptable to lose that game. And did Spiegel get peppered in the second half? Yes. Let me come back to this. He had 6 shots on goal or 6 shots on target in that second half, most coming in the last 15 minutes. They were absolutely barraged. But are you a playoff team or not? A playoff team stops those goals. A playoff team has a goalkeeper worthy of stopping a shot. Because if it wasn't for Michael Edwards against Monterey Bay, if it wasn't for New Mexico United only taking a few shots, this season looks a lot different on the backline. I do think the original backline of Fisher on the right side, Edwards, Garcia, and Bravo is a quality unit. I'm excited to see what Tingy brings. I think Fisher has earned his spot on the right side. Bravo still is getting beat a couple of times, which is worrying. He has improved his stock from last year, which I do really, really like. But there is a lot of worrying on, and this is very privileged selfish, I guess I would say, where last year it was a it's like, can they do basic functioning right? And like, oh, maybe they're a playoff team. This team has already shown that and this isn't even their final form. They got 2 guys in hyperbolic time chambers. Kingy and Florian Valor back there just like they're getting their wounds finished and they'll be back soon. So this team, I've already kind of and I'm a positive person. That's why this goalkeeping situation is so strange to me, that I'm so negative so early. Because like let me rephrase, not rephrase, but they have 7 points. Let me see. Let me bring the US. Look at this. The USL Western Conference standings. Oakland Roots 7 points. San Antonio, who we expected to be good, 7 points. The Sacramento Republic, 5 points. They tied Monterey Bay. Lowly Monterey Bay. Though, like I said, I think Monterey Bay could still be a potential 8 seed. But the West, especially the top 4 in the West, is gettable. Playoffs in the West is gettable. The only thing that I would say about how the standings have currently situated out, do not expect Lexington to be here at 9. They've played Sacramento and they played Louisville City. They will be in this top 4 in about 2 weeks. Give it about 2 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks, actually, because some of these teams play each other. Oakland Roots versus Orange County. Talk about that at the end of the episode. But back to this. A lot of stuff is very, very worrying in a bubble. I think the level of play, let me see if I can bring, yeah, we brought back our stats page here. Is that the Roots have done amazing so far this season, but I can also hope for more because I think this team is good enough. How it's currently put together, that this team could be a top four team in the West. This team could be a home playoff team contender, and points matter. And is that compared to last season where I was just like last season, like I have the sounder. Let me bring it up for you guys. Hopefully this doesn't mess anything up. But Roots got a point. Roots got a point. Roots got a point. Where I have a sounder for the Roots score getting even 1 point, and already this season I'm just like, we only got a point, and that's that is insane. I'm going to admit it to you. This team should be like celebrated from the rooftops, but I also want to make sure that it isn't something where we're just like, oh, look at those whippersnappers. Like this team legitimately under Ryan Martin, especially if you think he is the future, like team just the person who's going to run this thing forward, especially towards USL Premier, which is clearly what their goal is, clearly what they want the stadium for it to be, and to be a cultural standpoint in this area. Let me see if I can bring up some more stats here. But touches in the box. First half, Roots had 18. Second half, Rising have 18 because they had 0 in the first half. The Roots got bashed in the last 15 minutes, and let's see if there was any kind of things we can deduce here. I would also like to say on I'll bring it up later, but the Babosi goal, not Babosi, the Babosi assisted goal to Wolfgang, was so nice. Babosi, enjoy him while we have him as covering for me covering the Oakland Roots and people watching as fans, because I fully expect by the end of this year, some team, it may not be in the States, it could be somewhere else, but I think a higher level club will come and swoop him up. And that's probably going to open up the room for Ali El-Masnawi, because he's one of the few people who has not seen game time this season. And especially last season with him being hyped up and, to be fair, showing a lot of it on the field, it is intriguing to see what the disconnect is. And it could just be, hey, they see him as a central midfielder in the same role as Babosi and Tommy McCabe, and Tommy McCabe and Babosi could be two of the top central midfielders in the entire league this year. He could just have a roadblock. But let's bring up the substitutions. The first thing that happened is they've done this a couple times, is they took out Danny Trejo started the game, but they took out Danny Trejo in the 65th. They took out Mark Fisher on the right side, and they put in Tyler Gibson. And they also took out Wolfgang Prentice and put in Jackson Keel. And Jackson Keel has been an interesting one. How do I put this? I think he's a USLer. And what I mean by that is, I think he has the brains. I think he has some decent foot skills. I don't know if he has the speed to go to a higher level. So he could just be a really, really nice 70-minute sub backup. He came from Stanford. It seems to be the theme this year is a lot of Stanford. And Stanford's a really good program, so it's not surprising you go to what the local farm system is, being Stanford. But they put in Hackshaw, they put in Gibson. Gibson kind of floated for about 10 minutes as a de facto kind of right wing back, which I was not the biggest fan of. Once they took out Mark Fisher in the 65th minute, the entire kind of that right side for the Roots, or like left side attacking for Phoenix Rising, kind of just feasted. They, especially former Oakland Roots, Charlie Dennis was just a menace on that left side. that is very worrying. They eventually put in Jesus de Vicente, and he was hyped up coming. Usually, he only played on the left side. They put him on the right side here, but he was very hyped up coming out of Virginia. But he did look small, and he did look like that he was a little outmatched. And we were wondering, coming to the season, we thought he would be the starter at left wing back over Bravo, but it kind of makes sense now. Maybe he's going to take half a season to kind of get used to this level, because I do think he is eventually going to be the left wing back for this team, because he was very, very good at set pieces at Virginia. But they brought him out, and then they've brought in Hackshaw as this third center back. They usually go from 4-4-2. They kind of change it whenever they bring in Hackshaw. They usually take off an offensive player. In this case, it was Danny Trejo, and then slide Hackshaw into the back line. He's kind of been floating on the left side of the central backs, where he's kind of they've moved Edwards and Garcia over to the right, and then they have Bravo at this time on the left back, who I don't think they didn't sub off, but he they got burnt a couple times on some opportunities where could Spiegel have done better? Yes. Should the ball have ever been in that situation in the first point with 3 defenders? Probably not. It was definitely, and could the Heat, because like I'm not sure how it was in the second half, but like it was clearly probably over 80 degrees, and the Phoenix can kind of just suck. Like it can rip the temperatures out of you. They had a couple water breaks, but I think that defensive line and just kind of wore down in the Heat, and Phoenix took advantage, and that's credit to Phoenix. Phoenix did not deserve a point, but they'll take a point. And I have to also come back to this again. The Oakland Roots have 7 points in 3 games. If I was to if you times that by 10 for as the amount of games that are remaining, type of thing, and you're ending the season around 60 points, 60, 70 points, having a good old time like last season, that's first in the West. So am I complaining about little nitpicks? Yes. Do I think the Roots deserve and have earned criticism because of how well they have played? Yes. They are not a fluke. This is do I expect this team to stay at top of the West for the whole season? No. Would I be surprised if they fall out of the playoff race for any point this season? Kind of, yeah. I legitimately think the Oakland Roots this year are a good team. And that is a different phrasing that this team has had to deal with in the last few years. Because it's not, ooh, I hope we're a playoff team. It's, no. You should be a playoff team. Like, it is a failure if they do not make the playoffs this year. Not from last year's maybe they're good enough to be a playoff team. No. This should be a playoff team, and should be it should have a home game. That should be the goal. That should be the beating drum down the season of can they get a game inside the Coliseum, because it will be nuts. But let's look at some of these goals. Let me turn off the sound. All right, so couple things here that is correct and also not correct. Flip, Batosh, and Trejo. When it comes to the broadcast or FOTMob, it gets moved all over the place. But I really liked what they're doing with Prentice. And could this just be we're in the middle of a Wolfgang supernova? And we just don't realize that we're not going to see this again for 3 months, and that could be a thing. But Wolfgang has proven himself that he is worthy of, at least on a contending team, playing a role. The question will be, Is he good enough to be a top 4 team in the West to be a starter? That is unsure. But he has the team goal lead with 2, and he has 1 assist. I think he's tied with assists now. I love what I'm seeing from Wolfgang. I love what I'm seeing from Bayrongo, Babosi, and McCabe. There are going to be a couple individuals who are better than them, but as a duo, that could be the best midfield duo in the league, or at least the Western Conference. I have liked what I've seen from Wilson. I think he's going to get a goal soon. I'm not too worried about it, though. Let's kind of transition a little bit to next week's game. I guess we'll just do a little thing here. Wilson has been called up by his national team in Liberia for 2 games, which will basically take him out for just this upcoming week's Orange County game, which is a massive loss for the Roots, especially in a time where Orange County sits 4th in the Western Conference. And also just had a late upset victory over Colorado Springs. Orange County is kind of similar to Phoenix, where they have bet on a lot of really, really young players that do not expect to be at the USL 1 level, or like the USL championship level for very longer, like 17 or 19-year-olds that are going to get picked up by teams in Europe this offseason. But they're raw. This is their first runway. This is their first time to show, hey, are you that dude? And sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not. Which has been Orange County's problem over the last couple of years, is sometimes you don't know when these young players are going to hit, or if they're going to be like, oh, I don't know about that. But there will be no Wilson this week. The Roots announced it yesterday. We had an idea last weekend. But the question then becomes, who takes Wilson's spot in the starting lineup? And a lot of this comes down to is Florian Velo and King and Tingy back from injury yet, which we do not know yet. Though neither of them will probably start. That's kind of been looked so far the Ryan Martin model. If you're coming back from injury, he eases you back into the starting lineup. A good example being Danny Trejo was on a minutes restriction, about 20 minutes. I would expect something of the same for Florian Velo and for King and Tingy. It could be as simple as they just slot Jackson Keeley into the starting lineup and that Wilson position, kind of keep everyone's stuff the same. I wouldn't also be surprised if they put Tyler Gibson on the right side where he was playing to start the first game, where Batosh is. Move Batosh over to the left-hand side. Have Trejo move into the Wilson position, kind of his natural, let him just be the maestro up top. Give him the opportunities that Wilson's been missing. I have Prentice and Batosh on the left side, Trejo and Gibson on the right. I could also see them. They've given a lot of runway to Jackson Keeley, which would be very interesting to see what he's able to bring to the table. He is a young kid, not as young as Luca, their 17-year-old, who looks like from his contract he'll be added to home games. So I could also see him making his debut. And it's also, with these injuries, it'll be interesting to see if they find a spot, like I said, for Ali Ilmasnawi, or if he's just kind of in a weird, I don't want to say like training doghouse, but it could be maybe he's trying to figure out the Ryan Martin system. But Orange County just came off their game against Colorado Springs. They are currently sitting in 4th. They also have not lost a game yet. They have 2 draws and 1 win. They are coming off of back-to-back wins. They defeated Laguna United in Open Cup, which just stomped them, and then they beat Colorado Springs. They also drew with Phoenix Rising, and they also drew with Las Vegas Lights. What this tells me is that Orange County is a worthy 5-8 playoff team, which means if this is a game that the Roots could easily lose, could easily win, and I'm probably predicting a tie because this sounds like I would not be surprised if this is maybe a do or die game for Spiegel, in my opinion. I do not have inside sources from the coaching staff on that. We'll be asking after Orange County this week. This is a massive game because if you beat Orange County, let me see if I can bring up the Oakland Roots' schedule here. If you beat Orange County or get any kind of points are big points. Where is... All right, so Oakland Roots. This is also their last game for 2 weeks. Or is this the 11th? Hold it. Yeah, let me double check everyone. Hold up. That's another. Okay, so that is the weekend. So that is exactly 2 weeks is the Rowdies game. Rowdies are very good. This is a game on the road against probably a top 3 team in the East. That's going to be a tough game, no matter, even if you're feeling yourself. That's rough. Tulsa is looking worse than they did last year, but still looking like a potential playoff team. And then you go into Las Vegas, Loudoun, Orange County again, El Paso, Colorado Switchbacks, and Miami FC. Are some of those games very winnable? Looking at you, Loudoun. Looking at you, Las Vegas. Looking at you, Miami. But El Paso's rough. Colorado's rough. Like, there is no extreme giving game outside of maybe hosting Miami, because Miami does look like the worst team in the league. And you have to just beat up. Well, let me say that. There's Jacksonville, who's probably worse than Miami. But I don't know if you actually played Jacksonville this year. Yeah, I don't think they do. All right, back to the stuff. I've been yapping for a while. Let's look at some of these goals. All right, so Babosi pushes the ball forward, drives back to an opportunistic Wolfgang, and Wolfgang is kind of, and right now he was kind of in the Peter Wilson kind of spot of get a ball in the area, I'll get a touch on it, and there's a good chance the ball will go in. Immediately, less than a couple minutes later, they get this opportunity. And this is where I was like, okay, the Roots are truly back. Wolfgang has this thing. And Julian Bravo out of nowhere is just in the box and just perfectly heads it into the goal. Which, how many times are we going to see that this year? I don't know. But it was a really strong opportunity for the Roots. Overall, and I'll probably dive more into this on another certain podcast this week, but Oakland Roots are good. Oakland Roots could be better, but the Roots have 7 points in 3 games. I shouldn't be upset that much. Looking at you, Spiegel. But I'm intrigued to see if this playing Hackshaw for the last 20 minutes will continue, because it definitely seems like a surrender Cobra like type of moment where there's kind of like, like if every last 20 minutes of every game is just gonna be hold on to your butts, that could be worrying. That could be not great. But I do think that this team should spark joy this year. But I've been Daniel Poulter, beat writer for the Oakland Roots. This is Poulter's Talks Poulter. If you're a sicko and have made it this far, make sure to comment what you think the Roots' goal should be for the season, and always subscribe. I'll see you guys next week. And if you see me at the Oakland Roots game, always say hi. I love talking with people. I love enjoying tacos. That's a weird reference that only 2 people will get. But I'll see you guys next week. Wow.